Hey, I'm Dave Channon addressing slotting allowances. When one hears slotting allowances, one would immediately think of slot machines, casinos, gaming, limitations, regulations, but these are not slotting allowances. So what are slotting allowances? Here's a little clip about a student asking his teacher what a slotting allowance is.
Can I explain any marketing concepts?
Professor Siegfried, what is a slotting allowance?
A slotting allowance is a fee paid by a manufacturer to a supermarket chain for shelf space for a new product, also referred to as the stocking allowance, introductory allowance or shelf fee.
Thanks, Professor, for explaining slotting allowance.
So, a slotting allowance is a fee paid by the manufacturer to secure a spot in a retailer's store, and there's different reasons for this to happen, but it must be beneficial for the retailer and the manufacturer. So, one of these situations could be if the brand wants a specific or special positioning in a store. That associated fee would be the slotting fee. Another reason for this transaction would be if the products were new, risky, or higher priced, then the retailer would accept a slotting fee for taking on the risky asset. But these two activities create ethical questions. Do slotting fees raise prices for customers? Could huge brands not allowing their competitors' products in the stores hurt competition, and can small manufacturers compete for those prime slots? So, let's look at if these fees drive up prices for consumers. These manufacturers are spending extra money to get their products on the shelf, so shouldn't the overhead be put on the consumers? This is not necessarily true, because these fees ensure only competitively priced and quality items are introduced into the store. If there's true perfect competition, these slotting allowances, the retailer should provide the best product at the best possible price. This is based on pure competition. So, if there is pure competition, they will provide you with the best product at the best price. This is interrelated to the issue of big brands not allowing smaller competitors entry into the market, at least in certain retailers. If each manufacturer has the same opportunity to address the retailers to make offers, then that is competition in itself, and that is exactly what we want. But what if it wasn't like that? What if these slotting allowances weren't based on pure competition? What if a small manufacturer received preferential treatment, or have his retailer sell that company's item and none of his competitors? This manufacturer would probably not be making the product the cheapest or with the best quality, and they wouldn't need to without competition. Therefore, the consumer would be hurt by the lack of competition, and that would be an unethical issue. This is called exclusionary understanding. Exclusionary understanding, and thereafter refuses to accept a competing product without business justification, or imposes materially disappropriate terms as a condition of acceptance without justification. This is a perfect example of destroying competition, which in turn will result in ethical dilemmas and most likely people acting in their own incentives as opposed to the best interest of the company. There have been a few changes since 1970s when slotting allowances were introduced from the organizational challenges. From the corporation's point of view, slotting allowances are a new expense and actually take away from their marketing budgets and other budgets. While maybe addressing less through media, TV advertisement, for example, they pay for their item at the front counter or an end cap for increase in sales now. Some organizational challenges, now it's a new expense, and smaller businesses won't be able to pay these slotting fees, so they have to sell their products in other countries, which is globalizing. For example, Lee ice cream in Baltimore is not sold in any grocery stores in Baltimore, but you can find it on the shelf in Saudi Arabia and South Korea. Some marketing challenges. Marketers need to get your item in the right store and the right target market. Now, instead of retailers wanting your item, they have to compete just to sell your item to that retailer. This involves promotion, product pricing, and negotiation between manufacturers to get your item in the right store. That brings up an ethical issue in itself. Do we pay the slotting fees? Some companies can actually compete without this, such as Purdue Chicken, because they have innovated and separated itself from the competition by selected packaging and staying competitive without even paying the slotting allowances. Purdue Chicken is a great example of a company that did not have a major change in its manufacturing expense. So what if a new product wants to come in? The only way a business can compete is if their market is is if their item is innovative, different, and proof of profit. Therefore, companies will have to globalize their products, which mean they need to market to those consumer areas. For example, Lee ice cream marketing in Saudi Arabia and South Korea. So what are these new fees associated with? The organizational problem of paying the slotting fee. Marketing budget now pays for selective placement for increased sales. Marketers must market to their whole target consumers, for example, like Lee ice cream. Now for my recommendations. Being very interested in markets and free competition, free market capitalism, here are my recommendations. I understand that these slotting allowances are based on pure competition and that the retailer will act in its own interest for profit maximization. If that is true, then the retailer should not only be providing products that consumers want, they should be providing the quality product at the best possible price. On that note, it means that big brands are in essence still competing with the small companies, and small companies must need to flourish or innovate to overcome the slotting fees that they can't afford. Overall, I noticed the marketing strategies changes since the 1970s, and I believe that if slotting allowances are in a fair playing field, open to free market competition, that there are not crucial ethical dilemmas, and it is just an example of competition in a super competitive market.